How has coronavirus pandemic changed the teaching processes at the TUM?
Of course, the corona pandemic has changed teaching processes, testing processes at Technical University of Munich a lot. Number one is that for the actual interaction between teachers and students, we had to go to mediated formats. Mediated format is video conferences, chat rooms, and all other issues that come along with that. One is that it's a different feeling than if you have a direct interaction. But most of all, we realized that from a student's point of view, the capability to ask questions in between, like in the seminar, comes in on different channels. Secondly, we realized that it's not just the teaching process per se, but it's also the way the learning actually takes place. Very often, learning is done because you would like to compete a little with the other students in class. But what happens if you don't see those students? If you can't see them, and if you can't ask them that easily? So that's the second thing that changes. And I would like to also highlight that a third element has changed, the whole issues of exams. How do you do exams virtually that remain fair to all the students in the conditions, and at the same time give you a decent way of whether the students have understood and got a grasp on the various materials. So things are different after the pandemic or during the pandemic, but I do think we have learned to come to grips with these various facts. We will all move over to a more hybrid format where we blend the various things in a different way. It needs to be stated that always there were non-interactive parts in teaching, like having to read a book or looking at a video is certainly not necessarily interactive. And what we have learned and what everybody will learn over the new time is what is an even better mix, whether you have an interactive element or whether you have some alone time for study.
What changes and improvements do you think universities need to do to keep up with the demands of the job market after the pandemic?
One of the interesting questions is whether after the pandemic, or as I would say, on COVID, there are different skills necessary. I would venture to say that some of the classic knowledge pieces on how to program, on how to run Excel sheets and how to calculate discounted cash flows and stuff like that hasn't necessarily changed. What really has changed is a mindset. The mindset on how to optimistically learn new stuff while knowing that there's a virus out there. And I think that is where it comes as a new responsibility for universities to not just teach skills, but also look at the meta skill of being adaptable to an environment, of coming to grips with the fact that you're not alone in this world, and that of course some of the economic outlook that seemed so bright has darkened, well, not just a little. And of course, a change that we have to come to grips to is that the element of exchange and interaction goes different ways.
How is the TUM helping their students to learn digital skills?
If you ask me how does TUM help students to acquire digital skills, then we do that in my function as an academic director of an SAP University Competence Center. Well, we provide the opportunity for experiential learning, like the overall faculty for informatics studies. We don't talk about things, we make you do them. And in doing them and reflecting about the experiences, we really help you acquire the skills of bringing and moving that world forward. Of course, there is always something missing, and that is the question on what kind of softer skills of dreaming about new issues, of sensing and being empathetic to those that don't necessarily immediately want to do it. Those skills need also to be acquired through the experiences. So I'm very happy to say that in the practica, in the various practical exercises, there's a lot of opportunity for the students to not just acquire the digital skills, but also to reflect upon how would you actually use those skills in a social, in an economic, in an interesting business setting.